I have found some older funny papers, and the color seems to work okay. Let's see if we can get a real good close-up of this. Because the colors are blended, so there's some paper showing through, but that solid black stuff is shiny, and it may be an acrylic-based ink, which is why it's not sticking. So I am going to be able to do some nice things, I think, with funny papers. We'll see. It's really messy as far as paper goes, and I spilled a thing of glue yesterday. Okay, now I can show you all of these. These are the bracelets in order, and I might as well get the finished one. I'm walking across the room here, and here it is. This one was made all with wheat paste and possibly Damar varnish on the outside, but this is over 50 years old. Okay, and this is a paper mache bracelet. They're good and solid. This one's still wet. Okay, so this one is finished. It was made in 1966, and I wore it a lot, and it works just fine. Now, this is how they start. This is still wet here. This is the second gluing of this. These kind of soak up a lot of the glue, and so to get them started, it takes a little extra. Like you have to do it twice. And yeah, it's good and mushy there, so this should stick nicely. But you see, it's not very round. And that's okay. As you go, they get rounder. Because every time you have them and they're all covered and all nice and wet, then you put it in your hand like this. Depending on the size of the bracelet, you're going to have 3 or 2 fingers in here. You kind of slap it like this, like you do with ceramics, to make sure it's all mushed down. You can't go like this because you might pull up the paper, but you do this and you mush it, and then you let it dry. So every layer you do, you let it dry, and then you check for air, make sure there aren't any air bubbles. Peel it off if you do. This one here, I'm still building up. Can you see that? That this is, yeah, that this is a little higher. So I'm building that up. So this is stage 1. Now, whoops. After stage 1, we get to stage 2, which is covering the seams and building up next to the seams before we do other stuff. And we're doing it with vertical strips. So that's step 1 and 2. Then it looks like this. This one here, I had to peel a lot off of. I had used a regular newsprint from the classifieds, but the back side of it had a lot of black ink on it, solid black ink, and that solid black ink just rejects this paste. If you're using, acrylic glue, they'll melt together, but the acrylic glue rejects this. Also, just a point of information, the Elmer's school glue that's watered down that we use for paper mache sometimes, I'm using this instead. I couldn't really justify recycling stuff by coating it in plastic. So this I'm really making into something without coating it in plastic. Anyway, that school glue is washable, so if you've done any mache with that already and you're putting more layers, you can put this rice glue right over it. Those two meld together. Anyway, it's kind of a pretty surface with some of it peeled and sanded. I have a sanding block. So this is a possible for a finished one, but this is still thin. This is only not even one full layer. So one layer, the first layer goes like this and goes like that. And the strips are fairly thin. This one's a little bit thicker than most of them, especially on the inside. When you're doing like this, this is actually when your paper is wet, it's larger. So if you put it onto a bracelet that's dry and you put this wet paper onto it, I'm making this thinner while I'm talking. And you put the wet paper onto it, the wet paper is going to tighten up and pull away from the surface. So for the inside, when I'm doing the lengthwise ones, I'm putting them into short little curls. And same thing here. If they're too wide going around, then they're not going to work well. So it's real important on these first ones, especially to use nice narrow strips to make sure everything is covered as you go. So this is stage, well, it's sort of stage 1 that's finished, but it's not quite finished because it still needs more verticals. Now, this one is a stage 1 that's finished. Right, it's good and solid. So it is going to have a new layer put on of horizontal strips. And I soak these and I put them on here, but it's important to wet this surface first with glue, and then when you put these on it, these will be soaking and soaking really well in a little bowl of the glue, and then you put them on here. So you can put a bunch of these on the outside, and then you're going to go and put your shorter bits on here and there on the inside to kind of counterbalance that. So this one has all verticals. Now, to tell the difference, traditionally we put one layer of text, black and white, and then one layer of funny papers, the color, so that we know when we're done with this if we've covered our layer completely. And that's how I came up with deciding that just finishing it like this would be a good idea. So I have used for the second layer, I guess the first layer, because things were pulling up, I got a hold of like a newsprint book. This takes a lot of soaking, but it's pretty nice. But then I went to the phone book, and there I found the kind of paper I need. And here we have yellow pages. So my next layer then, I can distinguish by making it with yellow from the yellow pages. Or funny pages, because I had a bunch of strips I saved for another project that I can use. Okay, this one has its yellow strips on it. There's not a big difference in color, right? But it's there. So these go that way. Now these are going this way. And on the inside, there are lots of shorter strips pressed down carefully, right? Like so. So every layer you let dry. So this layer, this one now has 2 layers on it, and that is on both, on each side. Then this also is one with 2 layers. Okay. And this one has its 3rd layer, and these are the older, but from 2017, so, they're not ancient, but they have, let's see. Actually, they don't look all that much different. in the printing, because these have, you know, blended colors. So they do have, I think I mentioned this already, have little, don't know if they're made with little dots, but they just have more paper showing, so it works. So I will be able to do something fun with these for a layer. So again, this is layer number 3. It's going vertical and it's color. So this one is going to go vertical. This one's going to go vertical and be colored. This one's going to go horizontal and be yellow. And the other ones I'm doing with just tea bags, strips of tea bags. It's slow going, but it should be really neat looking when we're done. I think I might look a little bit like a coconut shell. I don't know. We'll see what happens there. Oh, and here's one more. Oh, this one, these are how the paper from the book pages looks. It's thicker looking. So again, I've got a possibility of taking, you know, words and strips out of that for a final one. Let's see, where's another one? Let's see. This is a layer 1. Doesn't sound like wood, because they are wood. Newsprint is a wood pulp paper. So again, was wood once, but ain't now. Okay. I'm going to put these on one of them somehow, or maybe a couple of them. The idea will come to me. Anyway, so I did put it at the beginning of this, the rubble involved. You use a lot of paper on these. Anyway, I'm very pleased with them. Oh. Fits should fit. All right. Thank you for watching. This was just a catch up on how these bracelets are coming along. How does this sound? Please subscribe if you can, and give me a thumbs up. No one will bother you if you subscribe, but it helps me out. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Ask me a question, make a comment. Have a good day. I hope you enjoy this.